Yo, 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 it is Super Bowl Monday, which means it's time for a Super Bowl week edition of the Big D podcast. Before I bring in Alex to talk everything Chiefs and Eagles, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. We thank you for listening to this football season. Got one game left. Also, check out the Big D podcast for all your audio listeners on Spotify and Apple. So joining us to this preview, Super Bowl 57 from State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. The only guy who could score a goal at Old Trafford, meet Larry Zonka, and catch a 50-yard pass from Trevor Lawrence at the Pro Bowl game and during the Pro Bowl game. Who would that be? That must be you, Alex.
Thank you, Dylan. It's lovely to be here. I appreciate the lovely introduction as always. It's so bittersweet, Dylan. It is Super Bowl week, which is so exciting, but at the very flip side of that coin, it means the end of football season until August, September. I mean, it is the longest off season in sports. It is the worst time of the year. It is a time that I am just sitting there waiting for football to come back. But first, before we get to the offseason, of course, we have Super Bowl Sunday, and I can't wait to talk about it with you.
Hey, you could wait until Kyrie Irving's ultimately traded, but that's another one another day. And so, this will be the fourth time the Super Bowl has been played in Arizona. Super Bowl 30 between the Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers was played at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. But this will be the third time that State Farm Stadium has hosted the Super Bowl, and the two previous games were pretty darn good. Alex, you probably, I think we all remember Super Bowl 42 when I'm not going to mention the last name, but he beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl with a crazy play that I don't even know how that happened 15 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the name Eli Manning, and he deserves some respect because, just the helmet catch is just, it was the happiest non-Miami Dolphins NFL play I've seen in my entire life. Obviously, anytime Tom Brady and the New England Patriots are in the Super Bowl, I'm rooting against them. But that season had some extra juice to it. So, David Tyree, Eli Manning will forever be in Dolphins lore as the underdogs who went in and took a Super Bowl away from Tom Brady. So definitely fantastic memories there.
And by the way, get this. Guess how many more catches David Tyree racked up in his NFL career?
I believe that was his last catch of his career, wasn't it? Goose egg. It's not a bad way to end an NFL career, I'll tell you that much. As short as it may have been, I mean, he will be remembered forever.
And
That's
then
about the Super Bowl.
And then 7 years later, the Patriots and Seahawks played another classic game, and Seahawks fans to this day are probably wondering why Marshawn Lynch didn't get the ball on the 1 or 2 yard line.
Yeah,
Malcolm Butler of all people, I've never even heard of him until that night.
Yeah, talk about different sides of the coin when it comes to emotions as a Dolphins not so neutral fan watching the Super Bowl. I mean, you got the one David Tyree catch of his life to beat the Patriots, then all of a sudden you flip the coin and you see Marshawn Lynch not getting the ball at the 1 yard line. You see Richard Sherman's nostrils and his jaw dropped on the sideline as he realizes that Russell Wilson just threw away the Super Bowl. I mean, why didn't you run the ball? It's been an absolute just mockery of play calling of last second decisions. I mean, it's gone down on the bad side of history as far as the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll go. But another classic. I mean, at the very least.
I'm just thinking. Have two amazing Super Bowls in a stadium in the NFL's best stadium, where nobody knows what's going to happen, and every play matters so much because you can either be the GOAT or you could be the GOAT. And in some situations, Eli Manning emerged, and some plays you're probably wondering, as Vince Lombardi would say, what the bleep's going on out here?
Couldn't have said it better myself, Dylan. But it's the Super Bowl. You know it's going to be history. You know that something crazy is going to happen, and that we're going to be talking about it for years down the line. I mean, decades down the line. That's the power of the Super Bowl. I can't wait to watch it. I mean, it's the ultimate show in the NFL and the ultimate show in sports around the country. So let's get into it. We've been talking about past Super Bowls so much this episode. Let's get into what we're all here to talk about. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs will be taking on each other in Arizona, as we mentioned this Sunday. And Dylan, I want to know, I'm going to start with you. We're going to start with the Philadelphia Eagles. What was one move, or as many really moves as you feel like, really changed the Philadelphia Eagles' trajectory to get them into where they are now, representing the National Football Conference in the Super Bowl?
Well, one, how Howie Roseman traded Carson Wentz is beyond me because I didn't think he could do it. But the fact that not only did they get rid of that bad contract, but Jalen Hurts emerged, became the starter, and became not just a dependable starter, but one the Eagles could win games with. And we've seen Carson Wentz become oblivion with Indianapolis and Washington. But I look at two moves in particular this year. One, the Eagles not just getting, but stealing A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans. Because when I heard that on draft night, I'm like, how did Howie Roseman get A.J. Brown? I'm like, A.J. Brown's exactly what the Eagles need. Because Devontae Smith, we all saw Devontae Smith win the Heisman, Alabama. Dallas Goedert's a decent tight end, but the Eagles need a big play guy. Well, A.J. Brown, if you watch Tennessee throw the ball, which is like once every quarter seemingly with Derrick Henry, but A.J. Brown's a big play receiver. And by the way, who set the Eagles' single season receiving yard record this year?
A.J. Brown?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely
and the second move was, I think it was during training camp, but they got a guy from your area, Mr. Gardner. I think it's Mr. Gardner Johnson. I don't know what his first name is.
Can't remember.
C.J. Gardner Johnson, thank you. C.J. Gardner Johnson from Cocoa Beach.
Yep. 3-2-1 represent, baby.
From this in a deal with the Saints. I mean, it seemed like the Eagles and Saints always make deals, and it seemed like Howie Roseman got the better because Gardner Johnson, before he got hurt, racked up 6 interceptions, was playing at an unbelievable level. And in this game, I think Gardner Johnson's going to have a huge play, whether he's running or in pass coverage, which I think the Chiefs are going to be throwing a lot on Sunday.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. And thank you for the local boy shout out. C.J. Gardner Johnson went to Cocoa High School. The Cocoa Tigers, who have been a dominant force in Brevard County high school football. I mean, the amount of state championships they win, they rival. They're always going up against those big Miami schools. So it's not unusual to hear about a Cocoa High guy making it to the NFL, but the fact that he's in the Super Bowl, it's definitely some good representation for Brevard County, Countdown County. But on the flip side, I want to talk about the Chiefs. Is that all right? Time to move on to the Chiefs. I want to go with the biggest moves that got the Kansas City Chiefs to represent the American Football Conference. I mean, the first one, which was probably a questionable decision. As you can see, I'm repping my Miami Dolphins. You have to start with the trade that the Kansas City Chiefs sent Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins for 2022 first, second, and fourth round pick, as well as a 2023 fourth and sixth round pick. I mean, you look at this trade and you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, and at the beginning of the season, you look at the rest of the AFC West, and you're like, what are they doing? Because we've seen the chemistry that Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill have had throughout both of their careers. We saw how dangerous Patrick Mahomes with his arm and Tyreek Hill's speed could be. And you take away a weapon from Patrick Mahomes that talented and with that unique of a skill set, and people were questioning the Chiefs, and I think rightly so when you really sit down or when you really look at it at first glance. But what the Chiefs did is they proved that Patrick Mahomes is the guy. He is the MVP. He is the best quarterback in the National Football League. B, you don't need Tyreek Hill to make a Super Bowl, to be the best team in the AFC. And C, you just acquired what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 draft picks for a guy, and you're still making the Super Bowl. The fact that the Kansas City Chiefs got rid of Tyreek Hill, brought in 5 draft picks to help them build for the future, and they're still in the Super Bowl, that just shows you how well-rounded of a team they are, how well coached they are by Andy Reid, and just how good that number 15 really is. Because obviously you still have Travis Kelce, and he is the best tight end in the league, bar none. It's not even close. But the fact that you're able to get rid of a player with the best skill set at wide receiver in the National Football League and still make the Super Bowl, it's a move that just shows you that the Kansas City Chiefs know who they are, they know what they're doing, and they're ready to build for the future. It's crazy that one of the biggest dynasties we've seen in the NFL for the last within the last decade is building for the future, and they're still in the Super Bowl. But that's exactly what they did with the Tyreek Hill trade.
And also, the Chiefs need some young pieces because with Pat Mahomes making his contract, there's no way the Chiefs could have paid Tyreek Hill what Miami's paying him. And look at what the Chiefs did. Drafted Trent McDuffie, the corner from Washington, George Karlaftis, Sky Moore from Western Michigan. And then in the 7th round, finding Jalen Watson and Isaiah Pacheco. Let's see. Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, Brett Veach, and the Hunts. That might be the best ownership, general manager, head coach, quarterback quartet in football.
Absolutely. I don't even know if it's necessarily close. I mean, I mean necessarily close in history. I mean, the only thing that I can really think of that would counter it would be, but it doesn't even it's not even really fair to with that Patriots dynasty. Obviously, you have Bill Belichick as head coach, Bill Belichick as GM, and then Robert Kraft and Brady. I mean, that's definitely a pretty good, competition when it comes to the, when it comes to front office quartet, franchise quartets. But I mean, you mentioned the draft picks. You also got to think they made some notable signings in free agency as well.
MVS was big in the AFC Championship game.
Exactly where I was going. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, a really nice deep option for Tyreek, or for Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he's not Tyreek, which is where I was going there for you, but he still had a very clutch, specifically the playoffs. You bring in Juju Smith-Schuster. You re-signed Chad Henne, who obviously, as a Dolphins fan, I'm very familiar with the man. But I mean, he came up clutch, threw a touchdown pass in the playoffs when Patrick Mahomes got hurt. I mean, so you got to have.
Don't remind me. I'm still PO'd about that.
And then my favorite DraftKings value running back, Jerick McKinnon. I mean, they made some moves. Tyrann Mathieu they let go. It really just seemed like it was a little tough to see what the Chiefs were doing at the beginning of in the offseason, beginning of the season. But that just tells you exactly what you just said. That front four of that franchise know what they're doing. They know who they are, and they know what they want to do in the future. And I mean, it worked for them this season. It only looks like, I mean, there's no reason to believe that they're going away anytime soon in that AFC. And I mean, the AFC runs through Kansas City until someone can prove them otherwise.
Well, get this. You remember the Super Bowl in New Orleans where the Harbaugh brothers face each other on opposite sidelines? Well, we're going to have history in this year's Super Bowl because there's not one brother facing each other. The Kelce brothers are going at it. First time in Super Bowl history that they will be 2 brothers sharing the same field.
Yeah.
Now, of course, both guys have won a ring. I mean, the Eagles center won with the won it against New England a few years ago, and of course Travis Kelce and the Chiefs beat the 49ers in Miami.
Mhm.
It's gonna be when I wonder if Mom's gonna have like a half Eagle shirt and a half Chief shirt.
She does. I actually saw an interview with her the other day, and she's got the jersey split. And one thing you just mentioned, how they both have won a Super Bowl already. I was watching that interview. It was really interesting. She was saying the best thing that happened was that they have both already won a Super Bowl. So going into this game, being the first brothers to ever play against each other in a Super Bowl, as far as actually playing goes, she said it took a lot of stress off of her now that considering the fact that they both have already won, because that would have been tough. Obviously it's going to be tough anyway, having to console one of your sons who just lost the biggest game in football, but the fact that they both already have a ring, it's got to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and by the way, the Eagles Kelsey's also expecting a kid. So I heard he brought his doctor to Glendale in case
Yep.
the wife goes into labor.
Yeah, I saw that too. Jason Kelly, they're funny, man. If you ever watch their podcast, the two of them, they really have they make some good content. But as far as we're talking about players playing the game, but Andy Reid. I mean, we talk about two brothers as a storyline playing against each other, but how about Andy Reid revenge game? I mean, you've got obviously the former head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, now coaching the Kansas City Chiefs. It's obviously kind of not as sexy of a story as the two brothers going up against each other, but it's still a storyline that people have been talking about. And it's a little tough to have Andy Reid and sexy in the same sentence, but I somehow
I
managed
can't believe you said Andy Reid
to.
and sexy in the same sentence. You need to put a bratwurst or a hamburger on that.
Yeah, I
Or in
mean,
Kansas City, a barbecue pork.
yeah, I'm trying to get some brownie points. I'm trying to get some of that barbecue myself. But it's what do you take from that? Obviously, it is a storyline that is worth talking about at the very least.
I mean, because if you think about it, Andy Reid was seemingly in the NFC Championship game every year with the Eagles. I think he coached in 5 NFC Championship games. Only made the Super Bowl with the 1 year Terrell Owens actually played for the Eagles. And you think in Philadelphia, Andy Reid was always a really good coach, but could never win the big one. Well, then you can't. Well, could you argue part of that was Don McNabb always shrunk in the big moment? He threw what 3 or 4 interceptions, and I'm not sure you remember, but I think you could see McNabb puking on the field in Jacksonville doing the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was feeling the pressure or feeling a little achy because the Patriots were coming after him.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't his greatest showing when it came to Super Bowls or the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously, it contributed.
He needed more of his mama's Campbell soup.
Uh-huh. No, yeah, I remember that commercial. I remember that one. But speaking of legacy, we're talking about Andy Reid and kind of going through his career and all of his successes. I want to know if Patrick Mahomes wins this game, he's putting together quite the CV to, I don't know if rival Tom Brady's necessary. I don't think he's necessarily there yet, but he is sure etching his name in NFL lore. And I want to know what you think if Patrick Mahomes can beat the Philadelphia Eagles and take home another Super Bowl trophy. What does that do to his legacy?
Slow down, homie. I'm like, wait a minute. Hasn't Pat Mahomes only saw like five full NFL seasons?
Yeah.
I mean, are we already anointing Pat Mahomes as the GOAT of quarterbacks?
I don't think. Obviously, I'd love to have someone other than Tom Brady standing on that throne, or sitting on that throne. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is not there yet. It's setting himself up. I mean, he's got a long way to go before you can even start that conversation, just because of the number of rings that Tom Brady has. But from what we've seen in his short career so far, he's he's at least made the statement that if there's anyone in the NFL right now who has the potential, it's him.
I'll say this. Andy Reid, Gwen Veach, and Travis Kelce. Yeah, I think the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to be in a few more Super Bowls. And unlike the New England dynasty of the 2000s, 2010s, that New England dynasty became annoying. It became stagnant. I mean, the Patriots became. I don't know what adjective you could use. This Chief dynasty is not, well, if it is the dynasty, it's not boring.
Right.
I mean, we see Mahomes do funny things. We remember the play in Vegas where they spin around the wall and do this, and then the Chiefs do fun things. Andy Reid's fun to root for. I mean, Bill Belichick's like,
yeah, and that's exactly the thing is when you think about that Patriots dynasty, the two figureheads are Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. You've got Bill Belichick, the man who never smiles, and then you've got Tom Brady, who, I mean, he has a personality, I guess you can say, but there's just something about that face that makes me want to, it just makes me want to hate the guy. And I mean, on the flip side, obviously Andy Reid, I mean, he's a walrus who likes cheeseburgers. I mean, how could you not love that? And then you got Patrick Mahomes, so yes, he sounds like Kermit the Frog, but he's still got some personality as well. He just unfortunately have to deal with his brother. But I mean, it's fun, it's exciting. It's a team that you can watch be successful and not just want to hate them, which is how. And I don't think as a Miami Dolphins fan, I mean, of course I'm biased saying that when it comes to the Patriots and Brady and Belichick, but I know a lot of fans of a lot of different teams around the NFL, not only fans of the AFC East. We're sick of Tom Brady. We're sick of the New England Patriots and sick of Bill Belichick altogether. So I definitely agree with you.
oh, by the way, we mentioned Mahomes. How about Jalen Hurts in this game? Because he started Alabama, transferred to Oklahoma when Lincoln Riley turned the Heisman finalist, and then the Eagles drafted him, and that draft pick raced the Miami Browns because of Carson Wentz there. And now, 3 years later, Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. Could Jalen Hurts be Philadelphia's next underdog story with a win? Because Philadelphia's a city of underdogs. Rocky, hello, Rocky.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely, of course he can. I mean, you win the game, you're the underdog hero. But at the end of the day, I think Jalen Hurts is the guy to watch in this football game. I mean, you think about kind of the profiles of these two teams, and it's offense versus offense. I mean, both teams have some players on defense and they can make some plays, but when you think of these two teams, you think offense versus offense. And the biggest thing with the Kansas City Chiefs is that Mahomes has the mobility, he can make a play happen, but he's hurt, he's banged up. How much can he move? How mobile is he going to be? And from what I'm just thinking going into this game, the Chiefs are probably going to go with a passing offense, obviously, and get the ball out of Mahomes' hands. You don't want him to get hurt like he did earlier in the playoffs. You don't want to see Chad Henne on the field if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but you still want him to be able to sling the ball. With the Eagles, they have more options. The Eagles have one of, if not the best offensive line in football. They also have Miles Sanders, who's had a very productive year rushing the football. And oh yeah, by the way, Jalen Hurts, who A, has been very productive running the football, and B, very productive through the air. I mean, Jalen Hurts is the guy that I'm watching this game saying, if he can run with success, if Miles Sanders can run with success, and then obviously Jalen Hurts has to be able to throw the ball too, but you got two decent receivers in Devontae Smith and AJ Brown catching passes from you, on top of a very talented tight end. If Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles can control the game, I'm going to say the exact same thing I said about, unfortunately, I'm going to say the exact same thing about what I said about the Chiefs and the Bengals game 2 weeks ago. If the Eagles can run the ball with Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders, and they can keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, that is the best chance you have of winning this football game, because both offenses are going to want to do what they are going to be able to do what they want to do. But if you can limit the amount of opportunities that Patrick Mahomes has, that's your best chance to win this football game.
And everybody. And by the way, the Eagles were number one in the NFL in sacks during the regular season. And The Eagles have no problem just sitting on the ball 8-9 minutes. Saw the end of the Giant game where literally they could just sit on the ball and the defense is helpless.
Exactly. But it is time for a segment that Dylan has been very excited for. I have been very excited for myself. We are not ranting this week. It's Super Bowl week. We are too happy to be ranting. So what better thing to do than a little bit of trivia, Super Bowl trivia, to close us out today. Am I starting first, Dylan? Am I asking first? Or do you want to?
You're asking the question.
All right, I'm asking the question. I have two. My first one is going to be, I don't know if you'll get this. I don't know if this is just something I know or if I have two questions because the first one's kind of weird. It's kind of niche. Can you tell me where the coin that is flipped for the opening coin toss for every Super Bowl is made? Can you tell me where they make that coin? That it's a very specific place. It's made in the same year. Made in the same place every year. And it is a very specific coin for every Super Bowl. Do you know where where that coin is made? The second one is more NFL actual trivia, but just
It wouldn't
curious.
be Tiffany's where the Lombardi trophy's made, right?
It sure wouldn't be.
What the heck kind of question do you come up with?
I have an NFL one for after it, but this is a fun fact that I guess I know for a specific reason. But it is made in Melbourne, Florida, at the Highland Mint. Just a fun fact, we talked about CJ Gardner-Johnson representing Brevard County. The Super Bowl coin represents Brevard County every year at the Super Bowl. Just a fun fact. But as far as my trivia question goes, that was more of a fun fact. I'm going to hit you with the trivia question now. I want to know, Dylan, which college has produced the most Super Bowl starting quarterbacks? Not winning, because that is a different trivia question, but which college has produced the most Super Bowl starting quarterbacks? There's only one. There's no tie for first. There's one school that has the most.
Oh boy. You've got me thinking. What conference does
I will give you a hint. I'm not going to tell you the conference, but I'll give you a hint. It is not a school that you would initially. It's not a major program. Obviously, they're a D1 school, but it's not It's not one of the top dogs that you would think of.
That's weird because the one I would have thought of would be.
They are D1. They are. I mean, they're a good program, but it is not one of like the. It's not one of the beasts of college football. I can give you another hint if you want, or I can give you some time to think about it.
No, I need another hint.
All right. I would say their most well-known product is still currently playing. And he's very well known for going to the school.
It's not Cal, right? It's not Cal, right?
It is. It is. University of California has produced 5 starting quarterbacks in Super Bowl history.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is one of them.
I don't have the 5 in front of me, but I do know now of those 5 quarterbacks who have started in a Super Bowl, only one of them has won the Super Bowl, which is a fun fact. That's why I said they're not the school that has produced the most winning Super Bowl quarterbacks, but they are.
I was thinking Alabama.
Alabama is second, tied for second. Alabama and Purdue both have had 3 starting quarterbacks in Super Bowl history.
And I could probably get the Alabama quarterbacks because Balt Stoll's won.
Yeah.
Stabler's won. And then who's the other one?
I know you can name one of the Purdue ones, at least.
Or Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Well, Bob Greasy, too.
There you go. You're right.
Okay. Enough of quarterbacks. I've got one for you. You will not get this one.
You're probably right.
Andy Reid is one of 5 head coaches to face his former team in the Super Bowl. Can you name one of the other 4?
One of the other 4. He's one of 5 coaches to face his former team in a Super Bowl. My first thought is Don Shula, who previously coached the
And Don
Colts.
Shula is not one of them.
He's not one of them. Both were AFC teams. Let me think. A head coach that faced his former team in a Super Bowl.
I've got the answer. You want this answer here? You were gonna do a backflip here. Weeview Bank with the Colts and Jets Super Bowl 3. Dan Reeves, Broncos and Falcons.
Falcons, yeah.
John Gruden, Raiders.
I was gonna say John Gruden. That was the name that was in my head, but I was trying to think of.
Wait, now I'm feeling.
I don't remember John Gruden going to the Super Bowl with the Raiders. That's what caught. That's what.
Well,
oh, face his former team. Oh, he didn't have to go to the Super Bowl. Okay, I would have had that.
And the other one, let me see if I can get this. Let me see if I can. There's one more. I'm looking. I think there's one more. Yeah, one more. So ultimately, Alex wins the Super Bowl.
It's so tough, Dylan. I really could see it going either way, but I'm putting my final answer as the Philadelphia Eagles. And Dylan?
What?
Who wins the Super Bowl? What do you mean, what?
Chiefs.
All right, we're at odds. I love it when that happens. But I think that's about a wrap. That's about a wrap on the Big D podcast when it comes to speaking about really upcoming NFL games this season. It's sad, man. I am not ready for football season to be over. I am excited about the Super Bowl, but I'm not.
Was the by the way, Alex, Pete Carroll was the 4th coach. Cleveland Seahawks. Thank you. So, Alex, thank you for hopping on. Hopefully, one of our teams will be in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl next year, and time to eat all the buffalo wings we can, all the chicken wings we can muster this weekend, right?
There you go. It's been a pleasure as always, Dylan. Thanks for having me. And you know how it is. Fins up, baby.